he did one heck of a job on this mission, which was Sound of Freedom, which was nothing short of a big war, lots of battles, and God needed him on this film. I mean, the amount of children that this film is going to save is just beyond, and the courage of what this film is going to do to people when they see it. I think a lot of whistleblowers are going to come forward that are part of these three-letter agencies that know what's going on. You know, we had 850,000 children that disappeared this last year. Now that's in front of sworn testimony in the House Select Committee, and evidence that was submitted. So none of the media and the fact checkers want to come forward and counter that. If they were to meet some of our fact checkers, some of our agents, and some of these people that are in the media that need to come down to the south border, they might have a real rude awakening of what's really going on. Don't understand why when something comes out in the media, then the next day it's gone. So you see there's a fight where some of the good media wants it out there, and then the bad media that says, no, this is not happening. So this film is a weapon, and it took heroes like Eduardo Verástegui. It took everything I had in my life. I couldn't sleep for 2 years after shooting this movie. Now this movie is incredible. It's a thrill ride. It's an adventure. It's powerful. It's serious, the best thing I've done since the Passion of the Christ. You'll hear me saying that often because it is. Like the Passion of the Christ, although that was a very tough film to see, why did many Christians go and see it? Well, because they understand that part of our faith is the cross. And Tim Ballard, that I play in this, is a former Homeland Security agent, a guy just in modern times. And he goes in and he rescues this little boy from one of the worst traffickers that you've ever seen. And the little boy, 5-year-old, just asks him, will you save my sister? And that was a question in his heart. You know, what kind of man is he? Sells everything he has, goes down to Colombia, right in the heart of Satan's place, and takes on evil. And he does it with God, and in much the same way David did against Goliath. We all are facing our Goliaths, but the question is that you have a faith, but faith without works is dead. I believe that's 1 James. Not that good of a Christian because I don't know the words real well, but I do believe in my heart that he had that put Eduardo and I together, and Alejandro and Tim Ballard, because we believe without seeing. We don't have to see. We know in our hearts that there is something greater than us, and that this faith that has been around for 5,000 years will continue, because there were great martyrs, and we had to go through a martyrdom with our faith, with our reputations on the line. And you know, Eduardo, it'd be the right guy to run for office, because he's the guy that the people want, that they believe in. That is true transparencies. Through, I see on your wall you have Jesus, I trust in you. That came from another martyr. I mean, she obviously suffered. I think she died in like 1933, 39 maybe. No, right before World War II. I was at her place. Faustina, correct?
Yes.
Saint Faustina. And out of that, you have other great martyrs that were willing to give some of it's white martyrdom, and sometimes it's red martyrdom. But the point being is that we all end up dying someday. We're all going to die. We're all going to be on our cross. And I tell that to many of our evangelical friends that I love deeply. And they say, why do you put Jesus on the cross? I said, well, at some point, you're going to die, and you're going to be on a cross. And Jesus will be there, and your family might not be there, but he will be there with you. And there's nothing more beautiful to look at when you're going through that kind of suffering. And so I take this film very seriously when I saw the whole adventure, and it's a great, great film. You see, now you don't have to be a Christian to go watch this film. You watch this movie, and I've only seen it happen twice before. And one was during Schindler's List, and one was during the Passion of the Christ. And now on this one, where people don't get up. Now, did they show you the movie by chance, sweetheart? Did you
Yes,
see it?
I saw it. I watched it on Sunday, and it
Okay.
was hard for me not to cry through the whole thing because I I I always tell my husband, I'm like, they focus so much on the past, like the media. They don't ever focus on the real slavery that's actually happening in this country, which is in the world, which is the child trafficking and human
I want
trafficking.
absolutely, and I just want to say one thing before Eduardo takes over on this. Our love for God's children has got to be greater than our fear of evil, just as our love for Jesus has got to be greater than our fear of the cross.
Yes. And you know, every project that we are involved, it needs to have the ingredients where when you combine them, the movie has to be designed to touch the mind, the soul, and the heart of the audience. And our hope as a filmmakers, actors, producers, is that when people leave the theater, when they leave the theater, we hope that they will leave not only entertained, full of popcorns and soda and candies. My hope is that they will leave full of love, hope, wanting to love more, wanting to forgive more, wanting to judge less, wanting to become the heroes that they're watching in this film, for example. So our first movie that we produced with that philosophy was Bella, a movie that saved many babies from abortion. Thanks be to God.
I saw that
that
in
he
the
used
theater.
this movie.
I saw that in the theater when it came out.
Well, that was my
I
first movie that I
remember.
introduced with
Her
Alejandro
big deal.
Monteverde. And,
Yeah.
and it changed the lives of it changed the lives of so many people, including my own life. And that's actually when I was doing Bella, that's when we met with Jim Caviezel and his wife. I remember one day, you have to understand that I come from a very small town from Mexico called Jicotencal, Tamaulipas. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 28. I didn't speak English very well. And when I had this conversion of heart, of course, the first person that I was looking as a role model were two people, Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel. And then after I saw The Passion, of course, I was crying for days, and that movie changed my life. As millions of people changed their lives because of that movie, by the grace of God. And you have to understand that one day, like a few years later, I got a call from Jim Caviezel's wife office, where they were inviting me to this event where they were going to give me an award for Bella. So you have to, I never told Jim this, but when I got there and it was on stage was Jim and his wife, and then they called me and I got this award because of all the babies that Bella saved, to be with my brother now, at that time my hero. Now he's still my hero, but now he's my brother too. But at that time it was just a hero. And to get an award from him and his wife, it was just amazing. I never thought a million years that years later, we were going to be working together in this movie, saving lives, Sound of Freedom. So thank you, Jim, for being an amazing role model and for saying yes to God and for, swimming against the current and thank you, brother.
No, you too, as well, Eddie. We end up doing something. It's amazing when you pick one guy and he's one, and then, but it was like we had Jesus on the movie, but then we had the Father, and then we had Eduardo, the Holy Spirit, and all, and the Father and Alejandro, and then this beautiful dove comes out with Tim Ballard, and amazing what just a few people can do to help really set a new trend, and especially what's been happening in our industry, that it's just it's a pain avoidance. This film though, I recently was given a shirt and it has all these Marvel comics on it, so you got Superman, you got Batman, you got Aquaman, and they're all around, and you got Wonder Woman, and they're all around. In the middle is Jesus, and he's sitting there and he looks up and he says, "Let me tell you how I saved the world." Tim Ballard is
That's
this
awesome.
way. Tim Ballard is a real hero. He's real. What he did was so well, it's right there. He's going on taking Goliath down, and there's something about where it's like, my life means nothing if I live in this world and I go along with evil to such a degree that even children, I'm not willing to lift a finger up. And he goes down, he's like, well, Lord, wherever you want me. And then he goes and finds me. And Eduardo, we all find each other.
Yeah.
And we're like, now we're up against it. This is a film they do not want you to see, but you need to see it, because I don't know how many times I have people walk up to me in the film, in the church, and say, I didn't see the Passion of the Christ. I don't like violence done to Jesus. And I'm thinking, what is that? Why you think that I'm into violence? And so I want our Lord to, is there anything to appreciative towards what he did for us and what sin does to us? And so, Tim, here's a Mormon guy. I had somebody ask me, how can you play this Mormon guy? I said, well, let me ask you this. There's a part in the Bible, isn't there, where this guy walking down the street and he sees this guy beaten up, and the guy that's beaten up, he's just lying there on the side of, imagine that being a child. So the Catholic guy walks by and he says, I don't have time. I got to go to a football game. Next guy walks by and he's a Protestant. He doesn't do anything. Then a Mormon walks over, picks the child up and takes care of him. See, the Good Samaritan is now. The story, the scripture is, who are you playing in this story? I got to play Jesus. Some of us love John the Baptist, or Paul, or Mary Magdalene, or Mary, or whatever. But there's some, but who are you playing in this story? Are you playing Pontius Pilate? Being a Catholic and saying, oh, I'm Pontius Pilate, or being a Catholic and saying I'm Judas and being proud of that. And I love this story when John the Baptist says, you think because you're a Jew, you're getting into heaven. God could turn these stones into Jews. Okay, so just because I'm a Catholic and I do nothing, God could turn these stones into Catholics, and you haven't lifted a finger. It's time for us to turn our backs on the sin. Yes, we have grace, but back in the old days, you had truth, all truth and no grace. So it was fire and brimstone. Into hell you go if you screw up. But now you could sleep with Susie on Friday, Catherine on Saturday, go to church on Sunday, and the blood washes all. It's all grace and no truth. It's sentimental hogwash. So it's both truth and grace, both. And that, like the person in the background that you got Faustina knew that. And that's why it inspired Pope John Paul and many, many, many great saints and people that you never heard about around the world. So both of us are like, wow, let's keep going with this, and maybe we can help, in our best way that we can. We've all failed human beings, but maybe we can help God, because God loves us, I understand, but we need to start loving God back. He needs to be loved. Jesus deserves to be loved. I want to love him. I'll give him whatever I got. It's not my career, it's God's career. And that's why I love Eduardo, because he knows it's not his career. God gave him the gift, and he's going to do whatever he can with that. And God's going to multiply his talents. And I was a simple guy when God came to me in a movie theater, and I said, well, I can't do this. But I said, well, Lord, I asked you what my purpose is. You said, hey, I'd like you to be an actor. Well, I'm going to take you at your word. So I'm going to go and try. Do you think people didn't call me out and say I was nuts? They're probably watching this interview right now and saying I'm nuts. But that's okay.
Actually, that's a good news, because we're crazy. Actually, we need to be crazy, but crazy of love for God to do what we're doing.
And so you have this nut wacko, Tim Ballard. Hey, put me with the wackos. I love Tim Ballard with all my heart, because here's a guy that went right into the dragon's mouth, and he believed like David, you just don't talk about my God this way. And so God guided that stone. David threw it, and God guided it. And he's guided Eduardo, he's guided me. And this has been hey, listen, this is a film they don't want you to see. We have 2 million children right now that are being trafficked right now at this moment. It's $152 billion a year business. 152, just to understand how big that is. That's more than all the sports teams in the world. All the sports teams in the world. And If you sent every 18-year-old to college at Stanford or Harvard, 4-year degree, all 18-year-old for 4 years, that's the kind of idea how big this is. This is way bigger than the Super Bowl. Well, you know, that's a big cultural event. 300,000 children under the ages of 18, are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. In America, we're the biggest buyer of child pornography, trafficking, right here. Mexico, Latin America's #1 in producing it. We're the biggest consumers of it. Shameful of us. Shameful of us. And the bishops need to start calling this out. The people need to start, priests need to be calling it out from the pulpit. And I'll tell you, I love Father James Altman, and God bless that man. And we need guys like him to stand up and start saying enough. Enough, you cannot do this to our children. Enough, you can't kill the babies at the first, second, third trimester. Enough killing the babies when they're partial birth abortion. And now here in the state of California, they're going to kill babies up to 27 days. Now, how does that save the life of the mother? Shame on us. Shame on us that we are not willing to do anything, that we allow our children to be groomed. Shame on us that we don't stand up to the sisters of perpetual bull, or whatever you want to call them. There are no sisters. What monastery are they a part? They're certainly not a part of Faustina. I love that woman. And this is our brothers and sisters that we need to protect and fight and defend. And so my Mormon brother over here, he's going, I'm going to go into battle with him. And I might have to give him my blood. Eduardo might have to give me his blood, but we're going to put an army together and go after him. Now, listen, we're selling out these theaters, and we're running out of time right now. And what's going to happen is you're going to go to the theater and you're going to go, oh, it's sold out. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to give my money to Disney because they got a movie coming out that weekend too. And I would be ashamed. So what we need is people to call the theaters and say, we need more theaters. If you buy tickets right now and you go to soundoffreedommovie.com, that's the URL, soundoffreedommovie.com. If you call them right now, yesterday we just picked up 300 more theaters because people that have seen this and heard and learned how good this film is, oh, it's a home run. Listen, I don't use this long, but I had to, I got on a thing. I'm sorry, Eddie. He's got so many stories to tell. If it wasn't for him, you would not be seeing this film. This guy is nothing short of a hero. He brought us $5 million. We were done. It was over. And this guy has had to take this thing and put it on his back for the last 4 years and try it, because they do not want you to see this film. It is so good. And it's going to open your mind to what's going on in Epstein Island. Oh, and I can't tell you why. When you see this movie, you're going to see there and you're going to go, wow, I understand fully what's going on. And what it's going to do, it's going to lift your heart up. It's going to get so hot and so sweaty of the sweat and blood that Jesus sweat in the Garden of Gethsemane. And you're going to want to do something, and you're not going to be afraid any longer. And they're going to be whistleblowers that are going to testify to the truth of what's going on with adrenochrome, with organ harvesting, with all of that stuff. That's right. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid of you, because I know I'm going to die one day. And all my brothers and sisters that are Catholics that understand that the cross is there for a reason, and Jesus is on it for a reason, because when we die, we are able to at least look at him, because we might have to be alone. Like many, many people are alone, and like our children are alone. And as Eddie keeps saying, God's children are no longer for sale.
And I'm not afraid either, Jim. And that's why we're in this together, brother.
Thank you so much for telling me all of that. I really appreciate you meeting with me. I wish we had more time.
No, I'm sorry, I took it all, but it's a different medium. But I wanted people to understand how passionate passion, no pun here, passion of the Christ, what it is. And it's our children that are being sacrificed. And damn us if we don't do anything about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So July 4th,
Yes.
July 4th, Independence Day. We are celebrating freedom, right? Okay. Maybe with one hand, but with the other, we need to work really hard to bring freedom back to the children that they don't have the freedom right now as we speak. We cannot just, do this on Independence Day. Yes, freedom, because there is millions of children that won't be able to celebrate freedom that day. Wake up.
Thank you so much. How did your Catholic faith influence this film? Because I did see there is one shot in the film where Jim, your scapular, is hanging out. And I know that he's a Mormon, but that also represents your faith as well.
Tim is very, very clever. He would dress up anyway and use anything, whether it be a scapular or anything, to get them. And this is in Latin America. A lot of people wear their rosaries and stuff. So it's part of the disguise at the same time. It's a massive weapon. So nothing, if it was a rabbit's foot he needed, he'd use it. But in this particular case, it's way more than that. So it was just one of those things where I thought that it would go a long way, and it was also a nod to our beautiful group of Christian Catholics that know exactly what that's all about.
I loved seeing
But for preparation for us, as you were asking, we're called to be saints. Bottom line, we're called to be saints. How in the world are we going to achieve that with our own merits? Impossible. We're broken. Impossible. But with God, all things are possible. Through a sacramental life, we go to mass every day, we go to confession, we pray the rosary every day, we do spiritual retreats, we fast every day. And the combination of all that, we read the Bible every day. The combination of all that is what helps us to walk one day at a time. Without that, I collapse in 1 second. We all collapse in 1 second.
rosary. That keeps me
every day
going.
Every day is our biggest weapon. Every day. I started a tour in Mexico where I invite thousands of people to pray rosary every day, and because the family who prays together stays together, and we need to pray together. We stop praying and the whole world is going to collapse the way how it's collapsing right now. And that's why we need to inspire more people to pray more. Prayers are powerful. And you know what? We talk about the heroes of Tim Ballard and the heroes of Alejandro Monteverde, the heroes of, Jim Caviezel. But let me just talk to you so we can, make sure that we understand who are the real heroes here in the movie. Miguel and Rocio, two little children who did whatever was in their hands to help each other, to save each other.
Yes.
And they represent millions of heroes that right now are praying. And those prayers were answered from God. And I believe that this movie is the answer from God, from those children who are praying every day. Come and rescue us. Please come and rescue us. I can picture those kids every day before they go to sleep. Please come and rescue us. Please come and save us. And God is putting an army together, and He's going to send that army. He has done that, but I think now it's going to be a global army, and we are coming. We are coming to save the children, and there's another army that is coming for the bad guys. They're coming after you.
I think that's why it took so long to get this released. There was resistance, but I think God wants it out right now in this time.
Yes. And God bless you for this interview, and God bless you for your prayers. And I hope everyone that is listening to this interview will come and see this movie, 4th of July, July 4th, the entire week. And after that, it's going to be the release in Mexico in September, and then eventually all over the world. So God bless you, and thank you. Thank you for being part of this army.
God bless you too. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be at Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
An estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at, but the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it. Our goal is to inspire 2 million people to attend the film's opening weekend, to represent the 2 million trafficked children around the world. To spread the word, Angel Studios set up a Pay It Forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom. Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.